Yeah, that is definitely the case.
Yeah.
How you been, man? It's been a little while since we first had that discovery call.
Right? That seems like a million years ago. Things are good, busy. I mean, you just saw the fundraise. I
Yeah,
assume it's like all over social media.
congrats.
So, I mean,
How'd it
like
go?
that happened.
I haven't seen it, so fill me in. Fill us in.
So Field AI, obviously the company where I'm working now, just raised $405 million, which is like obscene money.
That is
Um,
not a small amount of money.
Is that necessary? Was it necessary? How do you plan on spending the money? That's a better question, right?
that is a really good question. I
I
mean,
mean, that's $1
essentially,
million a day, roughly. Just saying.
for how many
For the
days?
next 12 months. The next 12 months.
Yeah.
That's one good day in Vegas, or that's like 1 year of steady spend.
This guy.
uh,
I mean, in reality, that's a really good question. Like, is this necessary? And the answer is kind of, I guess yes, because there's such a big vision of where this company in principle can go. Um, and big visions require like lots of funding to get you there. This isn't a cheap game. But if you achieve what you say you're going to achieve, there's huge market opportunities for these technologies.
that's almost like that's hardware money. Would you say you're a hardware company?
No, not really. That's the funny thing. Like, yeah, we're a hardware company in the sense that we deal with hardware, and we
Yeah.
do build some of the hardware ourselves, but realistically, that cost is on providers.
Huh.
So we'll work closely with, and I think we're gonna work closer with hardware providers in the future. That seems like an inevitability, but we're using basically off the shelf hardware at this point.
I was going to say it's almost as if you want to be successful, you're going to have to, because then you can control what you want, right? What you need based
Yeah.
on your vision.
Exactly.
Yeah,
What
which then
is?
again would justify such a large raise
Yeah.
to control your outcome. Yeah.
So maybe let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Stuart Maggs, Field AI. What we always like to do is do some kind of like intro origin story. So like, what was your path to maybe Field AI? And then maybe generally kind of construction as you're kind of interacting with that side of that business.
The short or the weird answer, it kind of goes back to, when you're in school. So in the UK, I don't know if it's like this in America, but basically you have something called, you do your GCSEs, you finish that at like 15 or 16. And then you do these things called A levels. And then the grades you get in your A levels define which university you get into. So if you do like really well on your A levels, you go to a good university. If you don't, maybe you don't go to such a great university. It's a 16 years old. You sit down in front of your career, like a careers advisor at school, and you fill out this like little form, and you give them the little form, and you say, "This is what I want to be when I grow up." And
At
it's so funny.
16. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little
right.
early.
Like you're 16, you've got no idea about the world at this point. Like all
Yeah.
you've seen is like this narrow bit of London where you grow up. And I was always quite artistic, I was always on the art side of things, ironically pretty terrible at maths. Um, and I said, I want to be an architect. And the woman looked down at the piece of paper that I gave her, and she was like, "You spelled architect wrong. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are
Uh,
you sure you don't want to go work in the trades? Maybe you could be a plumber." And I remember looking at her and being like, I mean, first off, there's nothing wrong with being a plumber. These guys are
yeah.
making probably more money than I am.
Yeah.
Um, but it was more like, but I didn't say plumber. I said architect because I draw good. I didn't say plumber because I make like pipes good. I said drawing. And she was just like, "Yeah, I just don't think you can be. I think you could be an architect." I mean, for the record, like I'm quite dyslexic, so that was not really like one of my strengths as a kid. But so eventually, I got through all the A levels. I ended up going to university, and I've studied architecture. Um, for those of you out there that know me really well, you'll also know that I failed 1 year of architecture school. I was like not always the most engaged of students.
Hey, we've
I
all been
wasn't
there.
I wasn't like bad. I just
There's other
wasn't
new things.
engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
Exactly.
you since gone back and found that school counselor and been like, Here's my
Bruh.
credentials.
Bruh. Bruh.
My God,
Yeah,
I
that's
did
right.
it.
They did it. You should have.
No, I don't even remember who this person is actually.
We'll find them.
Yeah, I'm gonna hunt them down. Maybe they'll be on LinkedIn. Like,
Yeah,
there's
that's right.
some way of finding this person.
We'll
We
tag
all
him.
I
have
We'll
told you I
tag him when
can.
we release this episode.
Yeah.
Shout out
Yeah.
to.
Oh gosh, yes. Can you find them, please?
I gotta find this. I gotta find this person. But I mean, this person probably wasn't also wrong. Like, I actually don't. Ironically, I don't think I was actually well suited to be an architect. But I did work as an architect. For like many years. I got my first job after university in Italy. That was pretty wild. Got another job. Worked in the UK a little bit. Worked in the Netherlands. And I kind of fell in love with the built environment. I think I fell in love with buildings. But I think maybe my version of architecture then was like a lot more expressive than maybe the reality of what what construction really is. But I definitely fell in love with building, and I fell in love with how do you build buildings. So I never really wanted to be an architect that just did door schedules and like knocked out plans. I wanted to go to construction sites. I wanted to see how it got built. I wanted to be involved, get my hands dirty.
Isn't that the evolution of like every designer and architect though? It's like I want to build like draw amazing thing, and they're like, here's a 2-story admin building with tilt up concrete.
Yeah, you pretty much defined the soul destroying journey of 99.9% of architects, right?
Yeah, that's interesting because my brother-in-law is an architect, and he describes that. He actually specifically mentioned like door hardware schedule as like the thing that broke him.
It broke him. The door hardware. The thing that blows my mind also is that, in my experience, the architects sometimes don't get paid well, especially if you're junior, if you're starting out. It's like you kind of have to own your own firm. But it is fascinating. It is interesting too, because I love your concrete tilt up or your 7-Eleven or another car wash. Okay, got it. I'll go do it. Yeah, car wash. That's good.
It's a little bit of your soul, like
just dripping away.
You thought you were going to be Frank Gehry, and now you're doing like another car wash. Fantastic.
Well, I mean, that's what's on the cover of the books, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you spend a lot of. I was like obsessed with all the Dutch architects around that time, like OMA, and I was like Rem Koolhaas. Wow, what a thought leader, like so smart. But it's not the reality.
It is interesting. The true master builders are both contractors and architects, right? And frankly, that's what history has produced, right? Those master builders, and I don't know when it separated and for what reasons, but I do know in certain categories there are architects that are builders, and they do amazing things. They can express their own creative stroke on every project, and also solve a lot of problems themselves as both that architect and builder. So not everyone's cut out for it, but again, it is interesting. You're sort of architect to wait, I want to go get my hands dirty. And those that pull it off, again, do well for the most part. Do well. And they really make some really cool stuff because they just know the connections.
The weeds.
Yeah. It's the details, right? It's
the detailing's always beautiful, makes the building.
Yeah. So
completely. Cool. I completely agree with that. And even if you look at the stuff that's maybe like a little bit more like whack, like the Frank Gehry stuff, when these Frank Gehry buildings go up, Gehry, the studio is really strongly integrated with the people that are actually fabricating this.
Are they there? Yeah. And just remind me, Gary's like the curved linear, like just like, I mean, that every project's a puzzle. Wild, never been done.
Yeah, just like impossible to build.
Engineer.
The funny story, like a lot of his roofs leaked. There was a big
no way.
like all of his roofs leaked. They had a big project in Oak Brook, Illinois, and I remember walking it. Beautiful building, all kinds of leak issues. Just to stab the legacy of Frank Gehry. But So what was your, so you're on this journey of like, you know, maybe realism kind of destroying maybe a part of what you thought the designer kind of path was going to be. What was your first maybe iteration of, hey, I want to be more closer to the work? Like what was that job?
I think the first one was through that job in the Netherlands where I had to figure out what my place in the universe was because we just gone through a financial crisis, just wasn't that many jobs.
That's right.
And as a result of that, I ended up going to a university called IAAC. And they sold me on this master's. It was called Masters in Advanced Architecture. It was like this great concept. But really what it was like kind of experimental concepts. It was kind of 50% art, 50% architecture, 50% engineering, technology. It was kind of just blending in this kind of like crazy madhouse university, all of these ideas. And through that, I got introduced to lots of like new concepts, but I got introduced to this idea that the architect could be pioneering like ways of building things to advance, like those bigger ideas that you had probably, like, to be honest, at that time, not that it's not now, but it was really driven by a lot of like social issues. I was like very passionate about certain social issues, and this was like a way of achieving them. And I think that continues in what I'm doing, but it's just kind of different. And the first, I remember the first project I got to like play with a robot and like really like into that world. We had this amazing guy coming, I think it was from Germany, to like run a workshop with us in the university. And we had this 2-ton, 6-axis orange KUKA industrial robot that we had like lowered to the ground in the middle of the studio. And it was like kind of early days for the university. And the idea was we were going to build a logwood cabin for a horse. And so we wanted to go out into the woods behind the city, and we were just going to pick up these logs, from like wherever we could find them. So we got these logs, and they were like all different shapes. We had to figure out like how to robotically cut these joints to put them all together. So we attached a chainsaw to the end of the robot, and then we were going to cut these joints. But the problem was that the wood wasn't uniform. So you'd have like soft as butter wood, and then you'd have like the hardest,
It's
like
the opening scene of a horror
yeah.
film.
Yeah. And so
Bugs flying.
the only safety we had was like my roommate. I remember Maria just standing there, and she had like the electrical connector plug socket to the chainsaw, and like whenever the smoke started and you'd hear these like horrible noises from the chainsaw, she just like pulled the plug out, and we pressed the emergency stop on the robot. And that was pretty wild.
This is an amazing story.
It was a lot of fun, and like you can't do that stuff now like you would. I then kind of as a result of that,
come a long way. It's come a long way.
Just like this world, like this world doesn't exist anymore. And I did a little bit of teaching at UCL in London, and I got in so much trouble because I was just like.
So here's the thing: we're gonna take a group of kids out to the woods. We're gonna we're gonna attach a chainsaw. Yeah, that would be hard to
get
get
this robot on.
It sounds insane. You would never do that now. So yeah, we did that project. That was super fun. There are videos of that online. It was super cool, really informative, learned a lot, and like really freeing as well. And then at the end of that, we did this like big thesis project. A bunch of us got together, and we did this project called Mini Builders. And it was small mobile robots that were designed to 3D print objects larger than themselves. So instead of this big 6-axis arm that was like limiting in scale and just wasn't the right tool for construction, we were like, we'll build our own robots, and they'll 3D print these buildings that will be not constrained by the size of the robot. And we did that project. We got a lot of publicity. We got in TechCrunch, did this, and like really amazing people, had a lot of fun. And that kind of gave me, I think, the belief that maybe I could build something myself. Actually, not the belief, like the naivety and stupidity that I can actually build something myself. And then
I think
from
they're the same thing. Yeah,
it's a great thing to have that like youthful stupidity, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't do anything.
I mean, it's actually we've talked about this before, but like the underdeveloped brain like at times the underdeveloped male brain specifically, uh, is really required to like do a lot of really interesting things. Like the amount of like innovations
Innovation,
and amazing things that
innovation.
have been done by people with underdeveloped brains because they're in their early 20s or younger is incredible. So, but what do you think? Like, if you were to like look back, was it like robotics specifically that you were like very intrigued by, or was it this idea of like this whole new kind of unknown that category of technology kind of represented?
I think it was what it represented. I mean,
Yeah.
robots are like that physical manifestation of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, construction is a physical world. So you want to be like physically doing things, but robots are hard. And probably that was like way too early to really like have a meaningful impact in that
Yeah,
space. It was still
it was
very
too early.
research,
Yeah,
way too early. And
yep.
now we're reaching a point where you can maybe turn that stuff into meaningful product solutions and like companies. But back then it was like way, 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 way too early.
I was even just thinking about it today. We're in the running to go build 600 apartments, two separate buildings, and I was just like, how could you have robots do it, right? And now, and I was thinking, and I wanted to specifically ask you this because over time things evolve, right? And to your point, it's just like 20 years ago or 10 years ago, I was like, that's way too early. Well, okay, present day, what can be achieved 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now? What will be achieved? Um, and I do want to, and so I'm really curious on that. And then I'm also curious on what needs to change in the industry to allow for easier, quicker adoption, or just this reality to occur, right? What needs to change on building practices or materials or just manufacturing methods? So big questions, but I think this is the meat of it. Super curious around this.
It's a cool question. I like this. There's so much that goes
I
into
mean,
that.
it's a $450 million question, right? What was your raise? 405, 450?
405.
Yeah, sorry. So I rounded up. Forgive me. 400. It's a $405 million question.
You can that can be the name of the episode, the $405 million question.
Dude,
That's
done.
gold, man.
That's money.
We
Bruh.
done.
Again.
But I think that like that question touches upon a whole bunch of
So much.
topics where you've got like types of robots that you're obviously seeing massive change in what the hardware and software is capable of doing. And you've got solutions that are proven out. Let's say there are two types of solution. There's like single use case, like very narrow. This does this task, like something like Dusty Robotics, which I would say is like a fantastic product.
Let me look
Um,
that up.
so that shout out to Tessa Lau, amazing product. Dusty is incredible. And then you've got, so that's like a single use, very narrow. And then you've got maybe these concepts of like now you're looking at more generalized solutions that are capable of doing more broader, less well-defined tasks. And that's like let's take that as like the manipulation humanoid kind of thing, where you've got a single robot that is capable of doing things that are not so linear, that are not so pre-prescribed, that are less controlled and have more uncertainty within them. So I think we've reached a point where the individual point solutions are getting better and better, like companies like Canvas or Kibo. You're getting better and better single trade solutions, let's say. And what's opening up, I think, more opportunities is that we're developing systems that don't require the same amount of certainty. Like they can deal with a lot more uncertainty within the task, do a lot more fine manipulation, do a lot more finer tasks. And that's opening up new opportunities we didn't have 5 years ago when this wave of companies started.
So to bring it back to your chainsaw in the woods sort of scenario, if it's soft wood, great. But if you hit like a knot, all of a sudden you're unplugging the system. It's like you're spraying fire extinguishers, mission failure, like we're off. So what I'm hearing you say is, we've been able to adapt to the different environmental conditions that are somewhat imprecise and can be, I don't want to use the word messy or chaotic, but job sites are that, right? There's a lot happening. And so what I'm hearing you say is we're advancing, you know, I call it the robot's intelligence, or the understanding of like what's occurring out here in an imperfect world as we try to make it more perfect. Is that accurate?
Exactly. Like what the robots can do is becoming far more generalizable.
Okay.
Um, and that I think is an intelligence thing. So there's a hardware component, of course, but this is an intelligence problem where our robots are becoming more intelligent. They're able to semantically understand things far better, but not just in like a narrow way where if one thing changes in the environment, the whole thing's broken. We're able to semantically understand and deal with that uncertainty and generalize across lots of environments. So I'll give the example of what we're doing at Field AI. So I think everyone knows like Spot Robot from Boston Dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the best piece of hardware on the market, and it's incredible. But it's never really focused in on like the navigation. So it will physically go around the environment just fine, but it will only really work in environments that don't change, like factories that remain static, because it's building a map of the space and then it's just like following the map. And if the map changes or the route that it wants to change is
It's
like,
like, what do I
yeah,
do?
I'm out,
I'm
I'm
out, bro.
done.
I'm out.
Yeah, like
What do you want me to
no,
do, master?
and just sits down. It's like, no, I'm done. Um, and what we've done at Field AI is we have this brain that we mount on robots, Spot and others, which like understands the environment, semantically understands the environment, and then is navigating through the space and can deal with that uncertainty. So if you're on a job site, things change every day, and the robot is capable of dealing with that level of uncertainty. So if you close off a hallway, right, instead of the robot just stopping and being like, well, I don't know how to get to the other side, our robots will understand, cannot traverse, can't go through this doorway. I will find another way to accomplish my mission. So that flexibility, and then if you just take that idea and start seeing like where that can go, then it opens up more and more tasks that were previously not accessible to robots in construction that
Yeah.
now we can start like thinking about tackling.
Is part of the thesis that when you look at hardware and software build is such different kind of, I would say, operational focuses at times. And I've worked for startups on the hardware side and I've worked for startups on the software side, and they're very different cultures, very different, a lot of different things. And so is part of the field AI thesis that to date, robotics companies, kind of the category of robotics companies, have had to solve both kind of hardware and software simultaneously. Whereas sometimes a company is better at building software than hardware. And that impacts maybe the user experience. And so the idea is Field AI is coming in, focusing really just on, we'll say the software, but the brain side of the operational component. And you guys can kind of elevate the experience for these different hardware companies is kind of the concept.
I think that's really well put. That you've reached a point where hardware is good enough to do the job, but it's maybe not as intelligent enough. And we're really good at the intelligence side.
Hmm.
And so we're imbuing intelligence into these systems. Like there's a good example where Spot is a really well engineered system with a lot of like built in safety systems. Some of the lower cost robots just don't have that. Like it will just walk into a person because it's like dumb. So what we're building into our platform is that we're taking low cost hardware that doesn't have those higher performance features, but we're building them into the software. So we're making low cost hardware smarter and well upskilling lower cost hardware. And that, I mean, if we go to like the next part of the question is like, how do you actually break into the market? Then yeah, you need lower cost solutions to be
Hmm.
able to get to that mid market place.
So pulling on this thread and getting to, call it the 20, 25-foot level. So I'm grad students in a robotics course, and my uncle is in the carpet business, and he's like, man, oh man, I'd save so much money if I just had like one of those like little lawnmowers, but like robotic lawnmowers. But I just wanted to have knives in it and a scraper, and I just wanted to go around this thing. And the robotics, nephews like, I can easily build that. And oh, by the way, there's this company that I can layer on their platform because it already has enough intelligence. So are you basically encouraging, you know, guys who have a passion in robotics to come alongside your solution to, hey, go solve the point, the point problem, right? Cutting carpet and scraping it up to, we have the software that understands their environment, and is that an easy integration, or is it like, no, this is going to be tough? Like, and where does your responsibility end, and where did the grad student's responsibility end?
Firstly, I love the question because it immediately reminds me of putting a chainsaw on a robot. You've chosen knives on a Roomba, which
Right.
I'm here for it, to be honest. Like this is like exactly what I want.
No, no, no,
Um,
no. What it is to me, it's what's the show on TV? It's like the Robot Wars or
oh
whatever.
That's a
yeah,
great one.
yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, there's the control language, and is every team having to create this language, or is it like, no, here's your sort of standard, you can just sort of download it and then pick your weapon of choice, whether it's a drywall sander or a little scraper thing. It's like, okay, that's like, now it's getting easier, right? So anyway, go back to
But
you.
I think you absolutely nailed it because you've got all these people with all these great ideas that previously didn't have the knowledge, the background, the experience to be able to build this out. And it would just take so many millions of dollars to build out all the basic systems that by the time you got
Yeah,
basic functionality, you couldn't build the application.
yeah,
So
yeah,
what we
nothing
are
left.
seeing, yeah, it's like, well, I run out of money and like I can't
Hmm.
build the thing that actually creates value. But what we're seeing with a lot of the customers that we're working with at the moment is that they want to take, yeah, this base functionality and then they want to build on top of it the application layer. They're like, hey, what if it could cut carpet? Or like, what if it could sound a wall? Or what if it could like walk around doors and measure things? So what we're seeing now is that in the very short term, we're going to be offering APIs, SDKs, like development kits, so people can build this stuff on build those layers of value on top. And that's definitely the future. That's where we're going.
So, so are you, and is it your intention or your plan to then acquire some of that tech, or partner and make it more open? I don't know if the right term is like open source to those individuals, to then, let's have a really good problem because these guys just crushed it. And now, our market are the subcontractors, or the trade specific guys, or the GCs. I mean, or are you getting it from both ends? Like, what's the path?
I think there's a couple of different models there. There's us engaging with those larger corporates that have really big scalable problems.
Yeah.
Like a big
Yeah.
corporate that says, I have a problem that if we can do this, we'll scale it to 1,000 robots tomorrow because it just
Yeah.
solves such a big problem to us. Then there's going to be the broader market where maybe you're supplying this to a startup that is a year old, is trying to solve a problem, and then they actually use that core technology to build something that deploys 10,000 robots, because
Yeah.
they've found some like really valuable
So you're going
insight
both
into the
ways.
market.
You're
Yeah,
going both ways.
exactly. And they
100%.
have advantages and disadvantages, but I think you stumbled across like something really exciting because that's what actually fundamentally changes industries. We cannot build out every use case on the market. That's impossible.
Are you,
Well,
one more question, Stephen. Are you
yeah.
partnering with, I mean, I go back to my robotics course. That was like, it took me 3.5 years to finally get to the one course I wanted to do, which was robotics in college. Are you partnering with colleges or universities, or grad programs around, here's an opportunity that is kind of untapped to like focus on designing solutions in the robotics world, and we're a partner, and sort of going at it from an academic standpoint to then bringing it back over. People want, like, the companies that you're working with, are they grad students? Are they just guys that used to hang drywall and they're like tired of hanging drywall, or tired of scraping carpet, like, and they were like, I want a robot to do this. Like, who's your ideal, like, I don't know if it's an innovator, or like what category you call that person, but who seems to be keep coming back? You're like, I see this pattern here.
I think realistically, given who we're working with at the moment, most of these internal customers are going to be like entrepreneurs. So people within
Hmm.
organizations that see a big problem and want to solve it.
Yeah.
But I get very excited about the idea of being, like the autonomy layer for the next generation of robotic startups, where every single robot startup from next year is going to use ROS and they're going to use field AI stack, navigation stack, because there's just no point building it themselves. That would be an
There's no point.
amazing
It's
place to be.
easy. It's easy. We've made it
Exactly.
easy for them to innovate.
I think the
Yeah.
challenging thing for the industry is that I think we've been kind of hinted or been told that robotics is kind of right on the edge of this next thing, right? And we're starting to interact with
The
AI and we
last
can
like 30
understand,
years.
right, for a while. And I think marketing teams haven't helped, right? They throw out a spot on a site. It like takes 10 steps. They get, some pictures with the field team. But then there really hasn't been any amazing case studies that have said, this general contractor, this trade partner use this level of automation to drive this kind of value or save this kind of quantity of time. So there hasn't been maybe the evidence. And I think it's fair to say that I think maybe the average maybe project from a commercial construction standpoint won't see robotics directly influencing their daily workflows in a way that maybe some of these other more nuanced kind of verticals will. Like I think EPC has use cases, solar farms have use cases. Is that fair to say? I guess the question is like from a use case standpoint, as you guys build the brain, how nuanced are you trying to get into these like different ways these verticals can need help versus hey we're just trying to get navigation right now and that's like foundational versus like that you're talking step 10 down the road.
Yeah, you're right. There's kind of a spectrum of tasks that you're looking to automate.
Yeah.
But if you take like what we're doing a lot of now, which would be reality capture, 360 capture, just huge amounts of manual work on a project, or laser scanning, for example. Like this is pretty mature. Like we're delivering this now. Uh, and then you got, yeah, for each individual general contractor, you gotta make a value case. I think as you get to tasks that are more like actually like physically building things, then you got to ask like, who am I selling to? Am I selling to the general contractor, the subcontractor, or am I selling to the owner?
Yeah.
And then am I selling a product that they like buy that does this task? Like, I don't know, a robot that installs all of the sprinklers. Like, am I selling to the plumbers? Am I selling to the GC? Is the GC just going to replace all these plumbers with this machine? Is it rental? Like, what's my business model? Is there going to be
Yeah.
high capex costs? Is it going to be rental, like low capex? And I think all of these things need to be worked on for these individual use cases to
Yeah.
find out like how is this being purchased and procured now and
E-
match it up.
What's even more challenging along this line, Stuart, is not only does every country do it differently, but even in the United States, different regions and pockets operate so differently than others. So what you think for a moment, you're like, oh, we've got drywall companies figured out. This is good. And then you go somewhere else and they're like, hold on, you guys operate how? And it's just, and yeah, well, maybe it's just a robot here. It's like, yeah, but it's fascinating how different some of these companies operate. So, sorry.
Is the concept then, Stuart, that with the APIs, Field AI will kind of build the platform that others will then build specific kind of nuanced use case capabilities on top of? Like you can imagine Field AI almost as like a Google Play Store, like a Salesforce, kind of ecosystem, and then there's a bunch of apps within that. You're like,
I
no,
think
that's
that
ridiculous.
no, it's like, you're inside our pitch deck.
No.
No, that's actually exactly what we're doing, really. Like we want to build out. Yeah, there's going to be some internal apps that we're going to build. Like your phone comes with a calculator, it comes
Yeah.
with a camera, like some core things that you just want on your phone. And then there are going to be those apps that people build for specific goals. And then maybe those apps are going to, like interface with another piece of hardware as well. Like I have, shout out to Whoop if they want to sponsor me for the next year. Please, please. You buy a piece of hardware, you have a piece of software, also there's like cloud component, but it just wouldn't really work without my iPhone, to be
Yeah.
honest. So you
Yeah.
can, and we're seeing customers do that as well. Like I can't say who they are and what they do, but they're using our platform. They have a piece of hardware they want to integrate. It's going to get integrated, but it would never have been done if they hadn't brought that case to us.
Hmm.
And the nice thing is that will probably expand to other projects and customers.
Exactly. 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 Stephen, can I go back to my $405 million question?
Yes, please do.
So what needs to change on a job site for construction methodologies to better allow the adoption of robotics or what you're trying to solve? Can you guys work? How efficient can you be with today's methodologies, or do things need to sort of change? And I have my own opinions, but I'd like to hear yours.
I mean, the
And if the
answer is
question's unclear,
no. It's unfortunately very clear.
yeah.
It's just very difficult, and I don't think I have a perfect answer to this. I've thought about it a lot, but I don't think it's an easy one to answer because also construction is not it's not a monolith. It's like you said, every state's slightly different. Every project, a data center is different to a hospital, different to a pharmaceutical plant.
New
So
construction versus renovation. Again,
Yeah.
new
yeah,
construction
exactly. Yeah.
versus renovation. Yeah.
But I think there are probably two avenues there. One, I think you have to make a choice of, are you going to automate existing tasks? So you are going to come and just, you do drywall today. So we're going to take all of the drywall panels and the framing and the way it's done, and we're just gonna replicate that with a robot, one to one, automate the process. And then you ask your question. You have to ask the question of like, why do drywall contractors do it the way they do it? I don't know if they do this in the US actually, but especially in the UK, they do like all the backboarding as much as possible because they get paid by the quantity that they install. It's not about
Yeah.
what you
Yeah. Yeah.
finish. So you
Yeah.
like your incentive structure is based on how you get billed. So are you gonna automate one to one how we do it today, and then you're going to be judged on can you do it faster, cheaper, basically cheaper. Can you do it cheaper? Simple as that. Or are we going to think about construction as instead of just siloing it up of like design, construction, management, bid, whatever it is, all of those silos, are we going to pull them all together and think, not I want to build drywall. It's like I want to build a wall that partitions a room and it has to have these qualities. And maybe there's a more efficient, more effective way of achieving the same outcome, but not with the same, maybe it's like a different size of plasterboard, which has been optimized for a human being to be able to move around themselves. So
Right.
like maybe we have to rethink the entire process from end to end to get the result we want. And maybe that will deliver us ultimately something that is faster, cheaper, more reliable, better supply chain, like however you're going to judge it. But either way, if you want to win in this industry, you have to deliver. It either has to help you win work in the future, it has to be cheaper on day one, or it has to be cheaper on day two.
Yeah.
If you cannot prove those things out, I don't
It's
think these
noise.
kinds of solutions are going to be
It's noise.
adopted. Like, why would you?
Yeah.
When you look at all the industries that field AI can start to kind of focus maybe a go-to-market process within, or building out certain nuance elements of their kind of tech stack for, we would love to think that construction is, everyone's kind of, kind of golden nugget in their eye. But like, how big of a focus is it? Obviously, you have an industry kind of expertise. You understand the domain well. But like zooming out to maybe field AI in general, how do you guys look at the different industries that you're going to focus on?
So we focus on a bunch of different spaces, predominantly industrial, like variations of industrial, from like oil and gas, mining, industrial inspection, construction. And I think we're probably just looking for those environments where robots have predominantly not been able to get a foothold because they just haven't been able to they haven't even been able to move around the space, right? Like
Hmm.
the first bar to entry is blocked off. But to come back to the point you were making, like, is construction the priority? I think really bad reputation at the moment. Um, I think that the opportunity is massive. It's just that people haven't figured out how to do well in the space, and technology hasn't always been good enough to realize those gains. So I think construction has a bit of a bad reputation that it doesn't really deserve. Maybe other industries, it's a lot faster to prove out value. So on a 18-month construction project, by the time you can't wait till the end of a 18-month project to decide if you're going to expand or not. That's like way too slow for a venture-backed company. But within, let's say, like an industrial
Right.
management use case, you could basically prove out the value within a week and decide whether it's
Almost
go, no go.
instantaneously.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And Stephen, this is what we were talking about with was it John Riggs over at Supple? It just one of the and I've seen it, I've experienced it, I feel it now with my software company. It's these are 12, 18, 24 months, 36-month long projects. It, and by the time you're done evaluating, it's the world's changed. It's already old business,
Yeah.
right? So, but to change midstream on a project, anything like that is extremely risky.
Yeah.
So why would any company want to self-introduce that risk to a project, whether it's their delivery, a robot, a this or that? It's like, no, we're good. We'll just keep doing it the way we've successfully executed in the past. And I think that's the challenge. That's the biggest challenge.
Well, and I think maybe that goes to the question of like go-to-market focus, because I think
100%.
often, some of these tech companies are realizing the owner has a lot more say in influence over kind of the culture of innovation on a project, right? And openness and willingness and importantly budget to go after and try some of these things. Is that part of how, and maybe I don't really know the field AI go-to-market strategy very well. Are you mainly looking to sell into kind of hardware partnerships, so that they can kind of handle maybe the services and project kind of interaction, or are you selling enterprise licenses? I don't know. Maybe this is another podcast, but curious to understand that.
Could be another podcast. No, we're selling enterprise licenses. So
Okay.
like we have general contractors that are deploying us on multiple projects. And you're also getting the benefit then of the learning that the robot is bringing on all of those projects is accelerating the speed of, let's say, like the performance gains.
Yeah.
So yeah, with general contractors, we're doing, let's say, those large enterprise deals.
What kind of discount do listeners get for Field AI? We need to start doing this, Lars, where we just we put the folks on the spot in the podcast and just ask them for a discount code.
Yeah, this is good. I like it. I mean, they just got $405 million, so I think they can afford a small discount.
We'll just say 15% off.
If you put,
Stuart, say yes. Feels good.
If you enter code Lars on the website,
yeah, that's right.
Oh!
you get 10% off your next robot.
Okay, the real question, Stuart, is how many Larses do you know? I bet you've met a couple.
I know two Larses.
Yeah, Stephen, how many Larses do you
Well,
know?
he's in England, so he's got some proximity to like the Nordic nations.
So the discount code makes sense. It's perfect. It's validated.
We just don't work in Scandinavia where like that might actually like really bankrupt us.
Yeah, that's right.
You strike me more as a Mediterranean kind of guy anyway. So
I hope you get a comment of like, wait, where do I put this discount code?
I really need to make sure that there's nothing on the website with a discount code. Because I think that's like a fireable offense.
Yeah.
I would caveat that where this is strongly endorsed by our VP of sales. This was not my idea.
Yeah, that's right. You got to throw other people under the bus.
Forced me to do it. I said yes under pressure.
All right, so you got enterprise licenses, and does that also kind of enter into like almost an R&D kind of relationship with Field AI?
it can be, yeah. Like some of this is, hey, we're just deploying this, like we're deploying this as a solution for you across all these projects. Like we're delivering a service. But I
Yeah.
think then there are also contracts we have with customers where we're also building out some of those applications with them, with and
Yeah.
for, it's a joint project. And that brings some really interesting innovation as well. But I think every customer that we're with, especially within the construction space, they want to go on this journey because I think they understand that the world is changing. They understand the world is changing really fast, and they want to have a seat at that table and they want to understand this.
Yeah.
They see the value. They see that this is a real thing. This isn't just, a nice marketing video that we saw, 5 years ago where it was just a marketing video.
Mm.
They're seeing it for themselves. They're coming out to the job, like management, the executive level is coming out to the job site. They're seeing this work. It's, no hands. It's just wandering around by itself.
Mm.
And then they want to be on that journey. So some of this
Yeah.
is, an actual partnership, technical development. And some of it is, hey, let's change the industry together. This is a joint project between all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
For the greater good.
It's a good
It's the
segue
only way to change, right?
into talking about the future. So put your future cap on for a second. On the spectrum of like tripping robots to Terminator mode, where are we at? And when will Terminator mode kind of come into play?
We're just talking T1. We don't need T2 and liquid metal.
Just
It's like
T1.
base
Just
level,
T1.
Base level Terminator.
Base level Arnold. Okay.
80s level. That's a hard one. I think there's a different spectrum of how people perceive robotics
Yeah.
in construction, where some people are like hyper bullish and they think that it's going to come and automate every task tomorrow.
Yeah.
That is just not realistic.
Yeah.
Just because we have so much to learn on the technological front and we have so much to learn on the operational front. But then there are people that think that this is never coming at all, and that's also not feasible. And we have the evidence that it is. And if you look at how machine learning, AI, or perception has changed so rapidly in the last I don't know, like year or 2 years, where hardware has come in the last 2 years. Like look at all the stuff in the humanoid space. We couldn't have imagined that level of quality of robot like 2 years ago. It was just like beyond our imagination.
Have you? So he didn't answer the question there, Steven.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's an impossible question. I like throwing those out.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. What's the company down in Austin, Texas, 3D printing concrete homes? Icon. I think it's Icon.
Yeah, Icon.
So going back to my question, which was, can we fully integrate or fully adopt robots in construction with our current methodologies, right? And so I believe, so strong opinion, that current methodologies need to change from how components, assemblies, manufacturing, like to be a true value add on the site. Like if you ask me, is 3D printing concrete homes cool? I do. I think it's fascinating, right? I think it's, and if we're talking fire resistance and some of the challenges, say in California or the West Coast fires, it's like, yeah, we should be exploring. This is good, right? But it's like, okay, so if, and I've seen the videos in China where, China puts up like a 17-story building in 6 days because they're literally picking up assemblies, right? Pre-manufactured, from a controlled environment and just dropping them. Okay. Now we have a robot trained in going and doing those connections, weldings with precision over and over and over 10,000 times, right? 24 hours a day, change out the battery pack, done, go. And it's like, oh, wow, we just achieved something that we didn't think we would achieve. And it was only because they reimagined, wait a minute, we need to build a building. Why do we build buildings the way we do? Versus, to your point on, why do we need to have a drywall wall like this, right? How can we reimagine it? But the scale and the cost to do something like that, to me, that's what the challenge is, right? That's perceived as risk rather than, hey, let's align as an industry. Don't know who funds it, but it's like, how do we get behind, let's go build a building in 10 days and outfit it. What would that take? Right? Now all of a sudden it's like, you're going to have some really interesting conversations on how to rethink how we get there in 10 days. No one talks about it.
No.
No one talks about it.
I
And
guess
that's why I think the 3D print was so cool, because it's just like, we're reimagining how to get a house out of the ground fast.
but it's not enough. The 3D printing is just one component piece.
No.
But Katera tried this.
Well, so
This
my
was the
point on the
promise of
China,
Katera.
yeah, but I remember reading an article about them, like, oh, they're going to change the world, right? And I was like, I literally was like, no, this is not going to work. This is going to be a disaster. And sure enough, 2.5 years later, it's like they're bankrupt. So I was like, saw that one coming, you know?
They were onto the right idea, because they were basically saying everything you're saying, but they just didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole other episode on Katera. I actually want to find someone, like a former exec from Katera, and actually dig into that, because that would be fascinating.
I also think we should do so much MyCon. Anyway, we don't have much time left.
But I think I want to adapt my question. The year is 2030. We're walking onto a data center build.
That's 5 years from now.
How many robots are on site on that build, Stuart? And I'll give you a range. Less than 5 or more than 10?
More than 10.
Oh, 5 years. Okay.
More than 100% more than 10. The question will just be, what will those robots be doing?
Boom.
So,
that's what I was going to say. What are they doing?
Yeah. Like, if like you've already got drones or robots, so like that's like one robot flying around, 100%. That's going to be there. You put, let's say it's a data center that's going to have 5 of our little robots walking around doing 360 capture. Then let's say you got like a couple doing material transport, couple doing I don't know, doing plumbing or some other like trade. You got like, let's say you got 2 dusty robots doing automating layout. Like they're not wanting to harp on, but like they're a company that delivers a service today. You can have that robot out on your project and it will deliver value right now.
Again, I want to see, where did they find you? Did you find them? Clearly, there's an interaction with this Field AI and their.
Oh no,
no, none.
No. It's just I know the founder. She's a friend of mine. So it's just
they wrote all their own They wrote all their own sort of software.
Yeah. All the hardware's there, all the software's theirs.
Yeah.
And you know, like that's where you need to bring something like this to market. So to go to that 2030 job site, you'll have Field AI robots walking around doing job site capture. You'll have 5 of those robots walking around from the first day to the last day. You're going to have, more interestingly, probably some of those robots will stay on the project and be a part of the handover, and they'll contribute to then the asset management of that data center. So they'll be walking around and they'll be making sure that the facility doesn't blow up, you know? So the robot is actually a part of that delivery of the asset. So you got 5 Field AI robots. Then you got a bunch of other Field AI robots doing material transport, because you need to move goods and services around the building. You need navigation. So we've got material transport. Then maybe we've got another couple that are like, you know, drilling holes or doing other things. You got a couple from Dusty. Like now is the moment where it's not too hard to paint a picture of having 5, 10 plus robots on a job site. Not because we like technology, it's because it will help us deliver jobs faster, more effectively, and cheaper, and with less health and safety risks.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. I mean, I think you're right. Like you paint an interesting picture. And then are they using like a foreman to like control the fleet? Or is that the space that the Field AI is going to get into it?
Maybe that's a new job. Maybe you have like a robot foreman that is there to do the management of this fleet of robots. And maybe that's a new job. That would be pretty cool. We're kind of already seeing that actually. Like people get tasked with looking after our robots on site.
Yeah.
So maybe like that's a new job.
Job creation. So we're running out of time. I want to be respectful of your time. I'm going to adapt the last question a little bit, because I think, you know, we have a younger audience that listens to these podcasts. A lot of them are really interested in new technology and robotics. But you know, they're working within the paradigm of their organization, their project, they're busy, whatever. what would you say? What would your recommendation be? You're a young PM, young superintendent, interested. How do you dabble in this? Is there a way to dabble, or
Good
just
question.
advice, or just like what's advice to like how they stay up to date? Maybe they just follow you on LinkedIn. Are you a big poster of content? You
I
gotta post
should
content,
be.
Stuart.
I should be.
More
I'll post
Stuart,
content.
this.
Stuart, it's hard.
Do
Okay.
the
So
walking
wait,
videos
hold
where
on.
like you just
Just
go out to the park and you take a video of yourself and say something about the industry? Don't do
I
that.
just don't feel
Don't do
comfortable
those.
doing that.
Yeah,
No, that's
no,
bad. Okay.
those are the worst.
I just can't do that. I can't. I just
always.
can't do it.
uh, Stephen.
I just like every day I wake up and I think, could some like terrible thing has happened in my life? Could I relate that to a LinkedIn post about B2B B2B
That's
sales?
right. That's right. Yesterday. Yeah.
Yesterday my
Those.
cat died, and here's what I learned about B2B
This is
sales.
what this means for your go-to-market strategy tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Well, Stuart, this has been a lot of fun, and I think very informative. I'm a fan of Field AI. I love what you guys are doing. I specifically love that Field AI has someone like you who knows the industry, appreciates the industry, and is attempting to kind of bake that into what you guys do and market, which I think is really important. So
Yeah.
I
thanks for joining
appreciate
us,
that.
man.
Yeah.
And
Appreciate
then
it,
the
Stuart.
final point that you asked for a piece of advice,
Yeah.
not LinkedIn. Honestly, try and learn as much as you can about this space. Hey, ChatGPT's there. You can ask it any question. It will give you pretty good answers. And then to your final point, what this industry does need is passionate people from construction moving into the technical side.
Yeah.
We've got incredible technical development teams out there, especially at Field AI, like the smartest people you'll ever meet in your life. But you do need that market knowledge. You need that nuanced understanding of markets like construction. So if you want to get into the space, like, hey, I'm not saying like everyone's got a job here, but hey, if you got something, like ping a company like Field AI and see if they have, maybe there's an opportunity for you to be on that side of the industry, because we do need more people from the industry crossing over
Yep.
and bringing that knowledge on how to like really deploy. So there's going to be some exciting journeys for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good stuff.
Lars, any final comments?
No, Stuart, pleasure. Love it.
Yeah, likewise to you guys.
Yeah,
Like and subscribe.
That's right.
Let's go. And discount, Lars.
Hashtag discount Lars.
Hashtag
Exactly.
boom.